Budget 2010 brought to you by Harith Fund Managers.
There are few, if you go to the budget review that was released today, Annexure C, there are few like cross-border, interest mismatches. There's transfer pricing, arbitrage opportunities. There's foreign tax credit that we still have to look at. On the personal income tax domestic side, I think most of the loopholes have been taken care of. We have far less deductions, far less incentives, at an individual level for people to have opportunities for adventurously structuring their pay and their packages. One of them is deferred compensation arrangements, to try and retain either scarce staff, by buying them life policies that the company pays for, which matures, for example, when the person leaves or when they retire. So we're saying all those type of arrangements where there's still opportunity for people to structure the things aggressively to a point where it gives opportunities for tax evasion.
Well, we know that Praveen Gordon was tough on non-compliance when he was the commissioner. Can you be tougher? You announced penalties last year. Are we putting those penalties into place? Are we penalizing people for non-compliance?
My predecessor, my boss, the minister, was very tough. I think we're going to be even much tougher. And as I said and explained to you, we now are emboldened, by the third-party process that we have been building. And this process, by the way, started during the era of the minister as the commissioner. And remember, I've been in SARS for about 4.5 years now. So I was part of the team that deliberately put together the strategy to say, we're going to try and make sure that we don't have to depend on taxpayers to give us supporting documents and documents so that we can be able to start detecting these things. With third party, let me make an example of the cars. Most of the cars that benefit from the car allowance dispensation that you have are new cars that are on motor plane. Now, beginning of this year, all motor companies, garages, people that sell automobiles, they will have on a monthly basis to deposit with us, the mileage that they have per person, per car, per registration of the car with us, which we will be able to check, It always gave opportunities for people to over-declare their mileage and over, and then we overcompensate them for travel allowances. So those type of stuff started, the base of it was set during Praveen's time. We are now implementing them. We're no more going, we're almost like the Americans. Where we come back and says, look, here is your income statement, here is your balance sheet. This is what we have constructed from all the other sources, And we see in this income statement and your balance sheet that you have not declared the following things. So how do you explain the following things? The other thing that we are doing that is exciting this year is we're now going to start getting credit card transactions, per person, Then with that we'll be able then to start detecting, lifestyle that is, that's not supported by what you can see on paper in your income statement. Then we can start asking some really pointed questions.
You also announced a voluntary disclosure program today, what sounds like an amnesty. Who's this aimed at, and what sort of response would you expect to that?
We have always had a voluntary disclosure program, but it has been understated. Anybody can walk anytime into SARS offices, come clean, and we do have a history, and we do have a reputation for looking at any other full, frank, and verifiable disclosure favorably. Because if you save us the time to go and do the detection, if our risk engines by one fault or the other, misses you, and you make it easy and you show that you want to comply, you want to fulfill your obligations, we will look favorably at such a thing. So we have that type of program all the time. The Commissioner of SARS has a discretion to waive some penalties and some interest. What we are doing now is to say, look, we now have all these data points where we can construct your status quo financially without you knowing. So we want to give you, because there are other people that are embroiled in these things not by intention. It could be because of ignorance. It could be because they are tax illiterate. It could be because people that advise them, skirt on the margins here when it comes to evasion and avoidance and legal structuring of taxes. Okay? So we want those people to come back and say, look, 5 years ago, I got caught up in a scheme. Some clever person told me that I'm going to make lots of money and you'll never catch me. I realize now that I was wrong. So here I am, I'm disclosing everything for a limited amount of period. If you don't take advantage of that period, thereafter, we have now amassed this arsenal of data points, where we'll come back and we will levy the full penalty that is due and the full interest that is due. So it's just to give prominence to a practice that we actually do and give a fixed year, on which people can come forward and say, here I am, I cleaned my closet, got no skeletons, please forgive us, let's start on a clean sheet. You pay the capital, and then we call it a truce.
The economy's turned the corner. When would you expect revenue collection to start catching up with that? What's the sort of lag between economic growth and revenue collection?
The one tax type that is a lead indicator to the economy is VAT, value-added tax. We've started to see for the first time in January this year figures that reflect VAT income that is higher than last year. That was the first time. I mean, for the rest of last year, we were taking a bloodbath. We were really being nailed big time on VAT side, right? Particularly import on VAT. So overall VAT number, including after refunds, netted against refunds and import VAT, is starting to show a positive trend. So if that is sustained, definitely the figures of 10% improvement in revenue, total revenue next year would seem to be affordable. CIT always lags. Yes, company income tax always lags because companies take a full year or even 18 months for them to recover, the profits that they've sent. You saw yesterday, APSA, showed an earnings drop of 36%. It will probably take them a little bit of over a year or so for them to recover from the position where they were a year ago. So CIT, which is 36% of our revenue, we expect it to continue to lag. And we are foreseeing a drop of, a recovery of only about 2%. Remember, we have dropped year on year 21% on CIT, which is a huge, huge, huge drop. So 2% is almost a 23%, turnaround that we are anticipating. So I think the calls that we have made in terms of our experience of how the tax types move and all the moving parts, we're pretty confident that we have made a well-grounded and well-thought-through projection.